Welcome to the next guest from the 973 show. And with me today is an artist, a metal sculptor, and a poet. I would like to describe him as a poet more because Bahrain knows him as an artist. Sudeep Deshpande.
Hello.
Hello, Sudeep. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
As I said, Bahrain knows you as an artist. You've displayed your paintings out there. You're good with your metal art. But what impressed me on the lineup that you gave me is a poet. Let's begin from that. What do you think?
Beautiful. Let's go ahead.
Tell me about your poetry. I have heard that you have recited poem at the Indian Embassy.
That's right.
So what is it, the poet that you are? What kind of poems do you write?
Well, first of all, I'd like to really thank you for this beautiful interaction that we are having today. And it's lovely to talk to you. Well, my whole approach towards poetry and my art is somewhat similar, somewhat holistic in its own ways. My poetry is inspired by my daily living.
Okay.
The life, the story, or the relationships we live, which we all go through, the good times which we all go through, and then the learning times which we are always wanting to go through or have gone through. So that's the whole approach towards my poetry. That's the whole approach towards the compositions which I structure, let's put it that way, in forming a poetry.
Mm-hmm. And in what languages do you write?
I write in Hindi, Urdu,
okay,
a bit of Farsi. So,
all right, interesting. Because Urdu has the depth, isn't it? A language with depth.
Yes, it's a beautiful language.
And you are from? Where are you from in
I
India?
basically belong from Maharashtra. It's a place called Nasik, my native being Nasik. When Pune happens for my College of Architecture, so I've done my graduation in architecture. Mm-hmm. So most of my education happens in Maharashtra. So
did you write in your school and college days as well?
In my college days, yes. Mm-hmm. If I have to just go back in time, it's around 99. Since 99, I've been writing.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
So continue to write, Sudeep.
Yeah.
That was just the beginning. And we would come to the crux of the talk.
Sure.
The artist, Sudeep Deshpande, is known to Bahrain's artist community and beyond. And there have been several exhibitions held. You've been part and parcel of the artist group. Tell us about your passion for this thing called painting. I think you do painting.
Yeah.
What kind of painting do you do?
My focus or my interest, I would say, is more towards semi-figuratives or self-interpretive abstraction.
Abstract painting.
Abstract paintings.
Okay.
And which initially started with the learning stages of anatomy, learning stages of you can say the still life, which we all go through during our examinations, through the intermediate and the stages of the examination.
Okay.
But then I feel there comes a point where you would want to express or draw your thoughts. I like drawing my thoughts. Let's put it that way.
That's a good definition of abstract painting, yeah. I would say.
And once or you can say after the completion of the artwork, it becomes more dimensional as for everybody to view it in his or her own way. And that's where I feel abstraction gives you the freedom to sort of look into my world, sort of read my world in your way, or see me in the way you would like to, as an artist, as a painter. So that interests me a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the person to tell me. Do you think abstract painting gives you more freedom than the other genres like portrait or landscaping? Or
I think more than freedom, abstraction helps you to sort of restructure the discipline that you would want to invent as an artist.
Okay.
Many times abstraction in art is always sort of misunderstood or not read in the right sense, where people think that painting an abstract or dripping some paint
is easy. Yeah. That's exactly what I was coming to.
It is all a matter of your temperament, I feel, and it is all a matter of finding yourself. And you may get inspired or impressed by certain artists where you would like to or you would want to paint like them. as an abstract painter.
True.
But it all depends on your temperament. I feel abstraction is a reflection of your nature as a human being. The best example I'll give you is my father was a sculptor and a painter.
And I think he's a Guinness record holder.
That's right.
And his name is?
His name is Dr. Sudeep Deshpande.
Sudeep Deshpande, yeah.
And he was a painter, he was a metal sculptor, and since art has been a part of my upbringing, so just like any boy, you would want to follow your father's footsteps.
Okay.
And just like during the childhood, you want to paint like him, just like you want to do everything he does, right? But in time, you understand that you may paint like him maybe a couple of paintings. But on the third painting, you may not hold that sort of a discipline which he's been doing it all his life.
Okay.
And then you start asking yourself why. So when you start asking this question to yourself as an artist, and the journey of your time is going to tell you about it, and then you know that this is not his nature is not what I carry. So what I carry is what I should find as an artist. And once I find it, I should never let it go. And I feel every artist comes across that particular phase where he finds something.
Discovery.
He discovers something out of accident, out of intention, out of practice, out of passion for what he is wanting to do. And then that finding can be a stroke, that finding can be a color,
splash,
or a splash, or a hue of a color. That can be his find or her find. And to be able to holding on to it and to take it further is where your artist journey begins. So then you realize that after you have found something, the first 2-3 paintings of your own invention, let's put it that way, becomes the book of your 4th painting.
Right.
And then these 4 paintings have become, like a proper digest for your other artworks to follow, which you will be pursuing in time.
I think you explained the concept of abstract painting very beautifully, especially in the time that we are in, the digital era. You have a lot of workshops coming online, and you see those quick splashes and quick brush strokes changing into beautiful abstract, and you feel you can imitate it or replicate it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But as you said, it's that aspect of discovering an artist. And going deep into abstract paintings, I love to figure out what the artists mean.
Okay.
And it's also left to us, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Have you come across that situations where people identify or discover totally something different than what you ever imagined or expected?
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, let me put the question the other way around. Have you ever come across any of your visitors to the exhibition identifying your thought?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, that's interesting, isn't it?
That's interesting. And that happens when your subject matter is revolving around the relative aspects of people around you.
Okay.
Those who along with you live this similar kind of lives, similar kind of emotions, they'll go through similar kind of relationships.
Maybe a person who knows you more as a person.
Even if they don't know me, but there are certain experiences which we all go through, I feel, in a certain age, in a certain stage or phase of our life, where the idea of relativity seeps in, and reading abstract becomes more sort of universal, if not universal completely. I mean, I feel, I'm amazed with this. Let me put it this way. I always feel that all our emotions or our thoughts, they also have a personality, or the relationships we go through, they have a geometry of their own. And to be able to find that geometry becomes quite interesting when you start going into the depths of the relationships that you live in your daily living, in your daily life, friends, families, or any sort of a relationship which speaks a lot in its own discipline. And when you start sort of exploring it on canvas, the idea of reading the abstract is what happens by a viewer, and that is where the relativity aspect of the conversation between a viewer and the artist takes place.
Sudeep, I'm a lover of abstract art, and I always try to interpret things. And your explanation really settled a lot of thoughts within me. Sometimes I really wonder, did the artist mean this? Or is it just, to the extent of, like, are they trying to fool me? Kind of a thought. But going deep into it, I find abstract is a very bold representation of self. A very recent artist which caught my eye is Gadir, a Saudi Arabian artist. I'm sure you must be knowing her.
Yeah.
She's going global. And she said the same explanation. At some point in life, she believed that it's a bold representation of self.
True.
And that's something amazing. In your painting life or as an artist, have you identified a pattern? Especially in your abstract kind, have you identified, when you said you identified yourself, is there a pattern that you follow, or is it just random?
It's a pattern, and but the pattern is found, like we were discussing
you discovered it.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is that pattern?
It's basically a sequence of applications of color on the canvas.
Okay.
And the tools that you use in the sequence of this application. I can best explain to you while I do it, and I would love to show it to you someday, soon maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
But I always like to basically follow the thought of my artwork, and then I understand that the thought will tell you the tool of your...
It will guide you.
It will guide you.
Yeah.
It will tell you which sort of a tool is going to best fit the kind of expression or the kind of emotion that I want to execute. And that is a very... it's more of a self-conversation, let me put it that way, when you are actually doing it. So
I can see the poet in you, blending so well with the artist in you.
Thank you.
How much time do you take to finish a piece?
It varies.
It varies, isn't
It's quite strange. Sometimes I have taken a month to finish a 40 by 40 centimeter of a canvas, which is a small one. And sometimes I have finished 6 by 6 or 7 by 7 feet in 3 days.
In lesser time, yeah.
So I think it
depends on your...
It depends on the
calculation.
You cannot calculate it as such. But again, I say, if more the self conversation, the quicker is the execution.
What's your favorite medium?
I have been working in acrylics. And charcoal. So yeah.
Okay. And how easy is to get one trained in abstract? As in abstract. Of course, painting is an art. You can train yourself in all those mediums. But abstract, does it come natural, or can I get myself trained in it?
I mean, if you are getting yourself trained, it's really good. But like I said, when we get trained from an abstract painter, the painter who's training us should also be training you to be able to draw your own thoughts in your own way.
Yeah.
Not to be training you in his or her way of painting abstract.
Right. Okay.
So in a way, it is then an imitation of his ways of interpreting abstract.
And your teacher was your father?
No.
You have trained elsewhere, or you're self-taught?
I can say self-taught, but since I've seen him doing it since my childhood, and he's shown me how to draw my thoughts.
Right.
So he's taught me that. I mean, we never had like lessons where he's asked me to sit beside him and teach me something to draw.
The tips.
But I think what I remember with him mostly is the conversations we had. And I think they have been my teachings. The whole philosophical aspect of being an abstract painter, and to sort of understand the abstract which you do after you complete your work is something which is very interesting, and which really took me in the sense which I grasp a lot from him. So I think the conversations,
right?
Because he was a self-taught artist.
Okay.
And to have gone this far, whatever he has done has been, I feel, incredible. Right from his paintings to his sculptures to his large-scale metal installations.
How long have you been in Bahrain?
Last 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
And you're an architect by profession,
I'm an architect,
isn't it? So it's all a blend of all these aesthetic side of life, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And coming to metal sculpting, you picked it from your dad, as you said, perhaps?
In a way. I mean, the first introduction to sculpture, yes.
So what do you sculpt, basically? What are the...
like I said, giving some examples, there are some projects which I recently did was some public sculptures which involved... Now here the subject matter becomes more subtle in the sense, more minimalistic in my compositions, as opposed to my paintings which portray a lot of emotions and talk a lot about human values and relationships. With sculptures, I feel most of my compositions are very subtle in terms of their line works, in terms of their proportions, and the shadow aspect, I feel, of my sculptures is something which I look forward to executing. I want to execute the shadow. Let me say it that way. And in the process, I want to execute the sculpture. Giving an example, there was recently a project which happened for a Saudi-based singer. He's a singer, he's a musician. And so we were to renovate his place basically as part of a landscape project. And there was a place where he had to do a sculpture to sort of camouflage, say, certain existing buildings in his own premises. So he was more inclined towards doing shapes of musical instruments. Like his pool was in a shape, and then his sitting area was in a certain shape of an instrument. So when we met, I suggested, what if we, rather than doing an instrument into a sculpture, what if we give a geometrical face to your music, your own music? Let's find how your music sound or how your music looks. And he was like, I don't understand. What are you really saying?
I did not understand.
So then I requested him for some time, and then I came up with a 3D block model of the sculpture, which in my eyes was the way he sounds or the way he looks, his music looks like. And it was a composition of 85 feet long by 22 feet tall of a metal installation. Now, where you say the metal as a medium, it is the scale sometimes that also decides the material of execution. So if I have to show the grandeur of his art, of his music, it has to, the material has to talk about his subject. And that's where the metal comes in picture. As opposed to any other material where I could have gone for concrete, I could have gone for wood or something else. But again, the climatic aspects of the place, how the climate affects the material after its execution and how it will affect the lifespan of the sculpture, is all these factors I think are very crucial in terms of executing your art. So we came up with the sculpture, but then I knew that the sculpture has a foreground for the car park, and I wanted to use that in order to show the shadow of the sculpture. So at every hour I showed the client how his sculpture is going to look like, how the shadows are going to fall, representing of him going and performing in a place, and when he goes out of that place, and how his reputation, how people talk about him. That's his shadow.
That's pretty deep.
So I felt, look, this is how you look like.
Did he understand finally?
And then he sort of. So so my interest here was the shadow. And the scale of the shadow, which will sort of consequently decide the scale of my sculpture.
Sudeep, for the past 15 minutes, you've been talking, in my words, poetry. Everything that you explained about your art, about your abstract paintings, and even to your metal, it's all so deep, a conversation, and it involves so much of thinking, so much of imagination. And you are as a professional, you're an architect. I think you run your own firm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where do you find time for all this silent thinking?
Well, I think it goes parallelly with me.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It is somewhere with me that is...
At any point, have you ever felt like I need to really sit and think, or I need that space? Have you come, like in terms of writers, we call it the writer's block. Have you ever come across such blocks? No?
I don't believe in that block. I don't, when I say this, I don't sort of contradict anyone, but maybe because most of my subject matter or whatever I think or I want to execute, there's a lot that you see in our daily lives.
Okay.
And therefore, there's so much of inspiration in our own stories, I feel.
It's all about picking the right thing at the right time, right?
It's all about picking the right thing, and maybe sometimes the moment itself is a reference for you to do or write or paint or... So, yeah. So
that's very optimistic in outlook, yeah, I must say. 14 years in Bahrain, how do you think this country has influenced the artistic talents in you?
I think Bahrain has been very generous. And these 14 years have, looking back in time, I can see that it has helped me evolve myself as an artist. Mm-hmm. From the very first month coming here in Bahrain, the art has really encouraged me in terms of my showing my art to people, or getting an opportunity to exhibit my art.
So, I don't know if it's just my observation or whether you echo with me. Have you seen the art scenario in Bahrain booming in the last maybe a decade or so, unlike before? That from the time you came, have you seen it like more of art exhibitions every now and then, more artist community? Yes. Have you seen that?
I have seen that.
And there is also collaboration, isn't it? Yes. Local artists and expatriates.
Yes.
And a lot of people, especially post-COVID. What are your takes on that?
I agree with you. Post-COVID, there has been an immense raise in the kind of, or the response that people have shown to art, and also the artists who have been emerging. And also I happen to, since post-COVID, I also happen to represent an organization in Bahrain which is called In Art World.
In Art World?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a art group in India which I happen to represent here in Bahrain. And that's
so it's an India-based?
It's an India-based,
okay,
India-based art group. And other than that, there are another couple of art groups which I represent here along with a good team of artists with me. So yes, this has happened a lot after the COVID.
Yeah.
But there are also these challenges of making sure that the good art is also shown. The art that is committed or passionate, people or artists who are passionate about their art or dedicated should show more, is what I always feel. And I feel ironically, a good artist can be a very shy artist.
Shy artist.
So that becomes quite a interaction with such artists, where to be able to give them an opportunity is what I always look forward to, and to give them a motivation of letting them know that their art is already there. It's there and it needs to be seen, It needs to be talked about, and people should sort of speak more about their art. Those who are good artists, those mm-hmm. who have been really working hard all these good years. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, as an artist, you have made some achievements for yourself. I think the best I would say is the work that featured on Mrs. Nivedita's book.
Yes.
Isn't it? That was a beautiful thing. Yeah. What are the other achievements that you would want to highlight?
I was interviewed by a magazine in the US, in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, the Hollywood Heart.
They published my story in, it's called Heart of Hollywood.
Heart of Hollywood, yeah.
That was one of the... Then I was,
and of course, you're a local face in the local publications.
In the local publications. Yeah. Bahrain International TV. Got an opportunity to talk to them twice, 2021, 22.
What, in your opinion, is the role of art in the present scenario that we are going through? You see a shift, isn't it, in everything, especially in this fast-paced digital era.
True.
Art has its own pace, its own style, its own texture, and it's like that. You get me, right?
Yeah.
How do you think it would suit into a world that we are talking about, which should soon, people say, would be ruled by artificial intelligence?
I feel it will always prevail. Art will prevail, regardless of how intelligent the artificials get. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, okay.
But because art is a very silent voice in your conscience, and it gives you hope. And particularly after the COVID, post-COVID, looking at the distortions in the world, in the family structures, of the unexpected happenings that we all have gone through. I think art in any form has always sort of given time to people who want to live, or it has given a hope of getting time to be able to live more, I feel. So it's always going to be very crucial, I feel, no matter how higher the...
Yeah. Any personal goals in life?
Well, I just want to keep on painting. I just want to keep on expressing myself. I just want to keep on finding a right medium for my thought. I always say that for an artist to have executed a good art, he or she needs to find the right medium for his or her thought. And that is a lifelong process, I feel. So I just want to be in that process. And
maybe this is a cliche question.
Yeah.
Have you done your masterpiece yet?
No.
No.
Because I don't believe in a masterpiece.
Yeah.
There is no masterpiece as such, I feel.
Right. You know the story of The Last Leaf, right? I forgot the author's name and I shouldn't be forgetting him. Every artist is supposed to be doing a masterpiece. That's some kind of a concept, isn't it? So you don't have anything like that in mind which you aim to do once?
No.
Be it in art or metal sculpting, anything that you have in mind?
No, because why I say this is every time I finish an artwork and I move ahead, and when I have to look back for a reference into my own art, I feel the previous one could have been better.
Okay.
And then I realized that this whole state of mind is important, and it should prevail with me. It should not stop, because the day I feel that I have made a masterpiece, it's like and that is the day things are going to sort of change.
Okay.
Is what I feel about it, because then maybe the next artwork that I do can be better than the masterpiece. Then the masterpiece is not a masterpiece anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
Or then the artwork I do after the so-called masterpiece is not as better as the previous one.
Yeah.
And in both cases, I still have to improvise.
Okay.
So then there is no masterpiece.
Yeah. You have an answer to everything in a very beautiful way. Sudeep, what about your family? Are they here with you?
Yeah, my wife is here with me.
Okay.
Me and my wife.
Is she an artist as well?
She's more into finance.
Finance?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And
we've got lots of cats. We love cats. So,
cats?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that's our family in Bahrain.
Has Nasik influenced your art?
Nasik has given me a very big boost in my career as an artist.
Okay.
Because my first exhibition I did was in Nasik. I would like to mention the gentleman's name. His name is Mr. Nandakishore Buttada. He's a lawyer by profession, and my first exhibition happens to be in the stilt parking of his residence.
Okay.
Nasik has. I have fond memories of Nasik, and a lot of encouraging people I met.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as we come to the close, one final question. 10 years from now, how would you want to be identified as? An architect, a poet, an artist, or a metal sculptor?
I would like to be identified as a designer who is known for finding an appropriate medium, whether it is his sculpture, his painting, his poetry, or his architecture, or his design. I think that is something which I am working on, or I have been working on all my time, I feel.
All the very best. May that dream of yours come true, and keep painting.
Thank you so much.
Keep throwing your splashes onto abstracts and let people wonder as to what your thoughts are.
Thank you.
The very best.
Thank you so much for this lovely interaction and your team, and so much of effort that goes on into this whole process of sort of freezing this interaction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was artist Sudeep Deshpande with us and the next guest. So wait for our next inspiring, engaging and exciting next guest on the 973 show. This is Raji Unnikrishnan signing off.